I remember I was driving around. I took my car and I was driving around Dubai. It was start of December. I drove around like a maniac and just went into every single real estate company I could find. So I thought if I just put in that little extra effort, which should be the standard, but put in that extra effort, I'm gonna close like nobody's business and really, really fast.
You can just learn, and it's different because if you just dedicate 3 to 6 months to proper learning, you might be closing meanwhile, by the way, because that's when people do things for the fun of it, that things happen to you. But at the same time, you genuinely are going to understand the real estate business or game properly.
There's people making millions of commission within a single deal with these villas. So sales is different. Rental is not as hardly fought over as sales, actually, but still, like the amount of people targeting every building. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the How to Go About It podcast. My name is Carl.
And I'm Atika Ben Yusuf.
So, first thing is what expectation you should bring with you. And I think from my point of view, I had a really specific expectation, which I mentioned before already, which really wasn't fulfilled, at least not at the company where I landed. And that was that real estate is this Wolf of Wall Street kind of office thing. Everyone's there, want to get super successful, want to make shit ton of money. And I mean, real estate is the way to go here in Dubai. It's probably the biggest business, right?
Yeah. It has it contributes as a big chunk of the Dubai economy.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was my expectation. To be honest,
you thought that you would walk in and you'll see people like acting like Jordan Belfort.
Yeah, I thought there was gonna be like 400 people, and you just hear everyone's calling, not screaming maybe, but calling. Yeah,
and throwing gold watches and stuff.
They're throwing the Rolex around. The incentives, they're not just being thrown around. That's what I thought.
Okay.
And there really wasn't. My expectations really weren't held up to be honest. And I have to be fair here. The company that I joined back then, which is also where we met at the end of the day, was at a, let's say, just critical state, and there wasn't too many agents left. And at the same time also joined literally right before Christmas. So when the sales manager told me everyone's on holiday, I was like, yeah, I think that's how real estate is now. I've heard different experiences from other offices. I mean, you will surely have a different experience from your first company you ever joined to, but that was my experience. I was really, I don't know, everything was really calm. Not a lot of people, and yeah, really different from what I thought.
I had zero expectations. Not in the fact that I was very realistic and I was not putting expectations, but more of I had no idea what real estate is. I really didn't know that people are buying houses. It was never in my mind or on my mind. I never thought that people are investing. I knew nothing in general about real estate. So it's really dumb. And by that time, I had kind of, had my rise and fall in my corporate career and kind of lost that career. And I didn't have the willingness to, take a bit of time and then go back. I just didn't want to. And I was not in a mental state to really even go and work there. And there was a friend back then who said, like, I go to real estate and make quick money. That's the only thing. Because in my mind, it's like, okay, you want to pay bills, you want to do this and that.
Real estate is quick money.
Well, that's what they said.
That's the expectation.
I actually don't think that I even put it as expectation. I don't remember. I remember he said, go and get quick money. And for me, quick money wasn't like hundreds of thousands. It was a couple of thousands, okay? I was not really thinking of it as like, I'm going to become a millionaire. Now, when I walked into, first of all, I remember I said it before on another podcast, which my way of choosing the office was based on how it looked. I've done zero research. It was very superficial, but it makes sense. If it's like a fancy office, it means it's a fancy company. Well, it's not really the worst of metrics. And I remember I was sending my CV and suddenly everybody's calling me and I felt like, wow, I'm
important.
Didn't know that everybody gets called because everybody's looking for agents. So I liked that and I felt like, okay. And then I walked in and I was like, nice office. The HR person was very nice, and he just threw it like, "What are your expectations?" I had zero expectations. Asked me, "Do you know developers?" And I was like, "No." "Do you know this?" No. I did some research, so I told him a few things, but for the love of God, like I knew nothing. And yeah, and then he was like asking me how many languages I speak, and then he was like, oh, okay, because they love languages as well. And he just said it like, I think he thought that I knew what he was talking about, but he doesn't know that I knew nothing. That's why sometimes I just don't talk. Maybe I'll tell HR. But it was good for me because he was like, we have agents here who just like in 1 month they end up making 100,000 and 150,000, and that's all I needed to hear. Like, say no more.
That's what they told me as well.
Okay, so you're like me, like 100,000, and in my mind, I don't know. Maybe it's like the greed side of it. It was like potential. It was like, ting. Yeah.
Back when I was, the reason I came into real estate, I mean, I was at a critical point. I just quit videography, which I thought half a year before was going to be my destiny. I quit that and I wanted to start somewhere in sales to get knowledge and experience for my general entrepreneurial career for the future. And I remember I was driving around. I took my car and I was driving around Dubai. It was start of December. I drove around like a maniac and just went into every single real estate company I could find. I also talked to a couple people, contacts of mine before.
Wait, you were set on real estate? Like you knew you wanted to do real estate?
Yeah.
Okay.
To be honest, at that time I was mainly like, I was also considering to go for just a sales job. I went to these car dealerships in Al-Quoz also, a couple of them. But the thing is, you gotta imagine, it was a very different time than it is now. Back then, the city was at its peak, I would say. Like when it comes to capacity, there was so many people there, market thriving. And it was December also. So right before the holidays, as my sales manager also told me. So there wasn't really people, like the companies weren't really employing anyone, even real estate companies. And back then came on top that I was only 19 and the regulations changed now. But back then you weren't allowed to become a broker if you were below, I think, 20 or 21. Even though my birthday is on the 8th of January, so it was just a couple weeks, but I went to big companies and none of them wanted to employ me. And I told them straight, like, I have this much money left. I just have my car, like I'm coming in and I need to make it. And I had the expectation because I know people who were in real estate a couple of years ago. I know somebody who was there 5 years ago. He started 5 years ago with one of the, if not the biggest company. And he told me back then, he was working on the Palm also, same like me later. He said he closed his first deal after 3 weeks. And then the same thing I heard from my sales manager. So I was like, okay, well, Ting. I mean, I'm not expecting to to make it in 3 weeks, but quick money. Like I came with the expectation that the little bit of money I had left would last me, and I could just make a couple small deals here and there and just survive for a while until it gets to the big numbers. Yeah.
But the expectations was like what? You're gonna come in, basically work for a couple of months, and then start making money, and then
because there's also
watches and cars, and
on top comes that I had some experience with real estate agents because me and my mentor, we were doing house tours back then. When I was doing videography, we were doing house tours to find his new apartment basically, and we visited like shit ton of places. And big addresses like Burj Khalifa, for example, and we're looking at apartments there, and then other places also, Peninsula, and the overall experience we had that the quality of the agent was not where you would imagine it. Like, also maybe a wrong expectation, but I would think that if I'm coming to visit an apartment which is worth millions of dirham, that the person who is going to sell it to you basically is going to have a really good process and is going to be really taking care of you, which wasn't the case. Sometimes We just received the message and just said, yeah, the door is open, you can go watch it. And we're talking about big numbers. So I was confused by that. So I thought if I just put in that little extra effort, which should be the standard, but put in that extra effort, I'm going to close like nobody's business and really, really fast. And
I think, okay, because I didn't have any expectations, so it's better to speak about expectations of people that I met when they first started real estate. I think everybody watches those Netflix shows that has like Selling Sunset and whatever, and it looks nice. Suits, fancy open houses, and meeting loaded people, and selling expensive properties and living like a kind of posh life or something. And they expected it really to be easy. They expected it to be a very straightforward process. They expected it to be just like having a vacation. And they had high, how do you say it? Not high hopes. Like they had high self-esteem or high esteem of their capabilities without really knowing much about the business. And they were also fairly young people. Most of them were like young, in their early 20s. And I remember because when I started real estate, I had a different way of looking at it. Is like, I wanted to crack the code. That's how I looked at it. Okay, so how do you get successful in this? I was not really looking for fun. And I was not really much fun. But I used to see them as basically they act as if they're in a vacation. Or on a vacation and... they want to have fun and talk, just whatever.
The office.
Yeah, and getting to know each other. It was nice. It's sweet. Actually, it's really refreshing for young people. But I think when you've never held like a job or been part of corporate, you see life differently. You wouldn't really see that, there are steps to this thing and there is so much hierarchy goes in it and there's so much back office work that needs to be done and there was so much like grilling and grinding and stuff. So yeah. But I think the reality hits them because you go through training, and not all companies, by the way, give training, but you go through a little bit of training and then, yeah. So I think their expectations was Selling Sunset and suits and for girls like makeup,
nice suits,
bougie life, and then here reality hits. And I think I could see it on people when the reality hits them, because the reality hit me differently of knowing that it's challenging. I think for them, it's like it crushed a little bit the dream. How was the reality check for you?
For me, the reality check was first when I started doing cold calls and I realized how pissed off the people are to receive hundreds of calls every day with somebody asking them if they want to rent or sell their apartment, especially on the Palm, because we talked about it last episode, it's one of the prime areas. The Palm is being called up and down all day long, especially the people who know, if you know the shoreline apartments, these people are being massacred. And our company had great tools when it comes to numbers, research and everything. Like we always had good data and so on and so forth. But these people, they receive 100 calls every day. The amount of hang-ups I had and the amount of people who just yelled at me, it was mad. And this is, by the way, I think this is where also the rental process basically needs to be explained a little bit. So the first thing you do is basically prospecting the objects which you want to sell or rent. Normally rent, because rent is a little quicker, it's faster money, so you start with rent also to get the experience a little bit. And
maybe before, like, because I don't want us to like explain the process first. I want us to explain the shock that you were,
good. So actually good. So I think when it comes to expectations, something that you just said, what you said, for example, about the suits, which I found funny.
I
had the same I love suits. I had the same expectation, but I realized over time, actually, people don't want to be sold in a suit, especially not in off-plan. Is a bit different, but especially not in secondary. When you're doing rentals and you show up in a suit, it's really weird. Actually, it is a lot better to show up in a very casual outfit, a nice pair of chinos, loafers maybe, but like in the polo shirt sells a lot better, because you got to imagine you come into someone's potential future home And in someone's potential future home, you don't want to have a sales guy in a suit telling you. People don't want to be sold like that when it comes to secondary.
I
People
actually don't
more
like
want
guys
to
in
be
suits.
consulted and be like, yeah, this. If you look out here, this is. Imagine yourself making your eggs in the morning, and this is your view.
I
Not my
genuinely
thing,
don't
but-
think it's a good thing for guys to wear suits while meeting clients. Guys, for some reason, women can do it, can pull it off. But for guys, I feel like smart casual is better. I don't know why, but I feel like no.
So
Like I see me and I feel like, okay, me going with a suit like this, it's not going to be like something that will make the client feel a little bit weary. But you going with a suit is, I don't know, maybe because of the movies of all the corporate people, the men, especially in suits.
It has a bad image.
The bankers. There's something about men wearing a suit that makes you feel like, no.
The thing, yeah, and from my perspective, it's different. Because to be very honest, like for me, that would be the ultimate thing. But that's just me, and there's
The ultimate thing, what, to wear a suit?
no. If I'm renting, buying whatever an apartment, and the guy shows up in a proper suit and looks really good, for me that's a selling point, honestly. Because I'm thinking the guy is like taking care. But the majority of the population don't want that. I think.
Hold on. When you start in real estate, you can't afford nice suits. So everybody starts with
Well, it depends
crappy suits.
yeah,
Most people.
yeah.
And I think when you're showing up, I think the trying too hard is what puts people off.
But here's the thing: if you just like.
And it's very easy for a woman to put a little bit of suit that is not high end and looks much more presentable than a suit on a man needs to be very well done for some reason. And I think if a guy shows up that is well built and wearing a nice fancy suit, no, they will be very convinced. It's just that you look like you can't afford a suit, but you're wearing one.
I get that.
Like you can't afford it, and it, yeah.
100%. No, it needs to suit your identity already, which basically grows together. So at some point, I think, because if you're selling a 50 million mansion, I think showing up in a suit can be nice. Not always, like I'm obviously I'm also looking around what other people do. There's a lot of agents who are selling 50 million villas. They're still not showing up in a suit. It's a personal thing, I think.
Well, yeah, also
just gotta consider it's not a business meeting you're going on. You're showing somebody a potential home.
It depends also on the weather. If it's like extreme heat and you're wearing a suit, I think people think you're a lunatic. Maybe during like the good weather, which is the other, let's say 8 months of the year, 7 months of the year, then it's appropriate.
Yeah.
But I still think it's a case-to-case scenario. Some people look good in suits, some people don't. Some people, they look much better in casual. Some people look good in both. But I think it's the trying too hard. And for me, I know that somebody's trying too hard when they show up to a meeting and wearing a handkerchief and pointy shoes. And you look like you're trying too hard. I don't know. I can sense it.
Depends on the event, probably. Yeah.
No, but if you go to... This is the thing. I love watching men in suit if we're going to a fancy event. But you're going to meet a client for a coffee.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah, but it's very interesting to watch a man wear a suit, like, I don't know, in a reception or whatever, or any kind of event.
But I feel like it's different also in off-plan and rentals, for example, right? Like rentals is
I
very
don't think
weird.
You should rent in a suit.
No, absolutely not. But I think for off-plan, since you're like, there's a business meeting, I don't know, but you're talking to an investor.
You know what I think my trick is?
Tell me.
Okay. Entry level to mid level, show up with a suit. High level budget, never show up with a suit.
Okay, so that's actually flipped.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think entry level to almost like mid level budget, but I think mostly entry level, they actually get charmed by the suit. Because usually people, they look at fancy stuff when they don't have them. And everybody who's entry mid-level...
It's the cycle of once you then have it, you don't even want it anymore.
They say like you can tell a millionaire from a billionaire that a billionaire dressed like they don't give a shit. A millionaire wears his money. So it's more of that, to be honest. So if you're meeting somebody with a high budget, nah. Now, I never really had 100 million client. Potential ones, maybe, but never really like had that kind of transaction. But it's just my trick. If you're talking about high budget, just go casual. And the more casual, the better.
So expectation number one is the outfit. Expectation number two is
you're going to make money from the second week.
Yeah,
quick cash.
Quick money. the thing is, the potential is there, but I strongly believe in that our path is written, and if it's meant for you, it's meant for you. Because I know people who had zero skills and they closed the deal in 3 weeks.
Sure.
And I cold called the living shit out of my, like I did over 1,000 calls a week, while doing also viewings and doing the whole rest. And joining you guys on the off-plan meetings sometimes because I was interested in it, and I still was not able to close a rental deal within 3 months on the Palm, even though I had like 20 listings up there and I was about to get more. I was at some time, there's a building on the Palm, it's called the Ep8, maybe that's why it was meant to be. The Ep8, I had the most amount of listings as a broker in that building. And all of them were featured at the top. Like if you looked for the building, all of my listings were up there. And I had viewings there every day, and I still did not. Couldn't be done.
I think people don't know that you should show up with 6 months to 1 year savings.
Yes.
And I think at least 1 year.
Yes.
Unless you're really willing to kamikaze it and just have 3 months savings, or do like me and live for so much financial terror for the first year and a half, which I wouldn't advise. But
no,
it's a good character development. I just wouldn't advise if you want to have a good head start.
What do you want? Character development, or
if you want to live in the streets. If you want a character development.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
So just have 6 to 9 months savings, and don't expect. Actually, you should come with 0 expectations. I don't think you should come to sell or to close a deal. And this is why it comes to the financial thing. It's like if you have savings, then you can relax. You can have your back a bit,
Yeah.
And you can just learn. And it's different because if you just dedicate 3 to 6 months to proper learning, you might be closing meanwhile, by the way, because that's when people do things for the fun of it, that things happen to you. But at the same time, you generally are going to understand the real estate business or game properly. But if you're just so obsessed with selling, then you're going to look desperate. You're going to look like, first of all, you're going to bullshit a lot, bluff a lot, because you need to do it if you don't know the business, right? And you're just going to arrive to a point where you get desperate and frustrated and like, why is not happening? And that even gets worse.
And then if you have the financial backup, it's a lot easier to go through these times, because if you understand that letting go mindset, basically you can make it through these times. If you don't have a financial backup, I mean, as we said, it's a big character development for sure. But depends on what you want.
I think something also very important is how to choose the company you're working in. And I don't know, what's your opinion? How do you think you should choose the company?
Well, there's different ways. If you just want to become a broker, and you want to learn from a lot of people, you want to have a big environment, I think it's actually smart to choose one of the big companies out there. Now, what you got to remember is joining that you're just a number in these companies. And if you're not outstandingly good, you're going to stay a number for a long time, which means you're not going to really get leads. You really have to fight for a lot, which also, on the other side, is, again, it's character development, right? But you are very much in a, could you say corporate environment? Yeah, corporate environment with, I would say the harsh reality is 80 to 90% of the agents are barely surviving, and then you have the 10 to 20% on top who are making crazy amounts, and those are the ones showing up on the board all the time. And yeah, basically what you're trying to get. That's the one way, I think. And the other way is to join a smaller company where you're going to be taken care of a lot more, where also is potential that you're actually building something for the company, which is what we're doing. But you can join a smaller company where you're going to be taken care of better, get training. Most likely the company that I joined back then, they had a wonderful structure in place for training and giving you lots of advice, because obviously the sales manager has a lot more capacity to talk to every single one of the brokers when there's less agents in the office, and there's just growth potential in general. But at the same time, that also means that that company's leads, the quality is going to be lower most likely, because they don't have as much marketing budget and they don't have as much budget to just spend on raw leads from the property platforms. So yeah, you basically have to pick and choose. What's your opinion?
I think you should never join during the peak season. So avoid the November, December months, January, because nobody's going to look at you.
Every mistake we counted up so far.
Yes. I think the best time to join is around June.
Yeah.
If you're going to talk about time frame, because then when things calm down, people go on vacation, people have time to talk to you. And if you're going to put savings, it's better really to start spending those savings during those months that you're learning, and then you're going to be learning better. I think you should join a big company with a good reputation of training, and not have expectations to be nobody. But if you join during the cool months, or the not cool because they're hot here, but let's say the calm months,
the wind,
and just learn, observe, see, understand all aspects of real estate, what comes into it, learn from people, ask, make yourself look ridiculous, etc., etc. And people don't count on you closing as much during those months, so you will have less pressure. Because on December, everybody's looking at you as like, what the heck are you doing? In June, everybody says the market is getting, relaxed, so you get a little bit of grace. I'm just saying, like, the best way to not really get pressured, because I'm just having a strategy. Join in June, go to a good company with a reputation of having a solid training team, get the training, learn from people. Your best bet is to shadow somebody who's good, but good luck with that, because first of all, they'll have a temper, an attitude, they're busy, and honestly, rightly so. It's
not many agents want that.
Not many want to teach, and honestly, I can understand them, because you don't have time to teach and you're too busy. So if I were you, and if I had 1 year savings, I'll assist you for 6 months for free to get your experience, And then if you ever want to, because the thing is that it gets frustrating in big companies at a certain point, because it's a bigger game, it's a corporate game, it's headache. You might find it hard to find a place, because as you said, you're just a digit. I would go to either a medium company if I'm not the proactive entrepreneurial wants to be part of success myself, and I just want me to succeed and I'm just all about me, I'll go to a medium-sized, decent company with an owner that is not greedy as hell. Because some owners of real estate companies are just like greedy. And by the way, startups that are very small are the greediest, because they don't want to spend nothing. They want people to put money, because, I've noticed it.
Yeah, if you have less money, you're more scared to spend it.
Yeah, and most entrepreneurial people are greedy, but there's certain like negative side of greed that I've seen in very small companies. But anyway, then if I'm a person who wants to be part of success and build something, as you said, I will go to a small company. And this is the good side of it, because some small companies are the worst and some are the best to be in. And the best is because it's somebody who really wants to start something and wants to have a team and generally wants everybody to make money. Now, funny enough, my previous company did have that.
Yeah.
Because the owner genuinely wanted people to make money, and he was very frustrated that people were not even seizing the opportunities. Like, I'll just give you everything, just go win. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Now, it's very kind of unusual for a big company to have that mindset, but they did. That's why it will always be, like, for me, the most special place. But that you will find mostly in small companies. Big companies, I think I was very lucky to be there, and it was like once every blue moon that it will happen. But I think, small companies, an owner who really wants people to win, he's more of like, I won myself a bit, and he's seen all the mistakes that were happening, for example, in the companies he worked in, and now he started his own company and wants people to win, and he wants to support them and knows how to support them. That would be great. Like, find you somebody like that and go build with them. And they're very generous. I think people mistake bad experiences with how like certain individuals are.
Yeah.
You know, they might not be the most elegant, well-spoken corporate representative prick, to be honest, but yeah, there's so much soul in that, and I think I chase that soul.
So that's what somebody coming in trying to become a good broker should also be looking for, is a medium-sized company.
And the beginning, go to a big one, because you need to learn. Big one with good training team, known for training. I think the best thing you can get is training.
Yeah.
And during that time, just do training. Don't focus on selling, even if they pressure you to sell. Just June, I'm training, I'm learning, I'm absorbing. What is this? We'll ask a lot of questions. Be an idiot.
When it comes to budget and you're not trying to live on the streets, build your character, you should have, I think, at least 60 to 80 grand in the back pocket, which is going to make you have a decent life for at least a year. I think that's the most comfortable savings you can bring.
Those
you can
are your
bring
European
less.
Straightened. Again, you're such a European. Those are your European standards. I don't think.
Well, I'm just looking at okay, look, if you come in June and you'd rent something for a year. That would be the best case. Maybe even in one check, because then you're safe. So you rent a place, which is going to be at least 60K. Yeah.
That's why I'm telling you, you're such.
You were talking about comfort. I'm not talking about. Look, if I'm in Europe and I'm trying to come here and I want to make a career, depends on how bad I want it, where I come from. But I'm not trying to live in a partition, right?
You should be trying. If you don't have money, you can.
Yeah, of course, but that's what I'm saying.
And that's why I'm telling you, you're such a European.
And that's what I'm saying. If you want to have a comfortable life, that's what you should bring. 70 to 80.
A comfortable, yes, but you don't need, because the thing is that if we're telling people, let's say real estate for dummies, okay, if you want to live comfortably, yes, but that's you can actually bid. Look, you can rent with 5 people. All I care about. If you have a dream, you'll make it, right?
Of course.
I don't think you would. But you're not gonna stand 5 people in a small apartment, no?
Oh, I have.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Then sorry, I'm judging.
No, I'm saying I said, that's why I said earlier, I made everything I'm saying now. I did the opposite, but that's why I'm saying if you want to be comfortable, that's the budget you should bring.
Yeah, but if you have a dream and you don't have the 60K,
come anyway.
You will figure it
out.
Of
course, you'll figure it out.
I think mostly when I talk about savings, it will be because people coming from abroad, they're really like hooligans. You know, they're a bunch of hooligans. They don't care. Because I remember when I first moved from Tunisia, I was a hooligan. You would live anywhere, sleep on anybody's couch and all these things. But if you're somebody who's lived here and had a career or whatever, and then you're thinking about it as like, whatever is your lifestyle, whatever you can live as, think of 6 to 12 months. If you have 6 to 12 months, then you're set. If you're coming from abroad, come like a hooligan. It will be a nice ride. I wish I was in my 20s coming to work in real estate again in Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I envy you for that. In a healthy way, not in a malicious way.
No, as I said, I'm not regretting anything of how I did it or what, but I cannot advise somebody to do how I did. I cannot advise someone. That's what I'm saying. Come here with some sort of comfort if you can, as much as you can, and then come and figure it out the rest.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go. Because the company, maybe, we can talk a little bit about the process now. So
the thing is that it's not like about the process. It's more about people to understand that real estate comes into different sectors.
Yes.
And I think, first of all, you're either residential or commercial. Because there is residential for people to live in the houses, and there's commercial, which is shops, showrooms, whatever, warehouses, etc. And they all apply to the same logic. It's just that one of them, there is VAT included and one there isn't. Because people pay VAT, which is a 5% when they buy or rent or sell the commercial properties. Just that is the only difference. And then in any, let's say, domain, whether it's residential or commercial, you have the rental, resale, and off-plan. You have to start from the bottom. Now here, the bottom is the rental. Which I don't think it's the bottom, by the way. But anyway. Well, how was your experience with the rental?
I think rental is the easiest to get into, first of all. Hence why so many start with it. Because the amount of money which is being spent is way less for the client. So the decision making is often faster.
Yeah.
And also the whole process of, let's say, how fast you get your commission is really fast. As soon as the contract is signed, within 2 to 3 days, the client basically, they often give you the commission cash. But they can, it is in with 2-3 days. So in that way, it is fast cash, but it is quick cash once the deal is signed. That's what I think you shouldn't confuse. But yeah, I've said it before. It was a lot harder than I expected because the amount of calls. To be fair, I started on the Palm, and the Palm is, as I said, the prime area, and
it's competitive. I think
heavily targeted. There's people making millions of commission within a single deal with these villas. So sales is different. Rental is not as hardly fought over as sales, actually. But still, like the amount of people targeting every building. I know people from my company back then, they knew from these shoreline buildings, they knew every single floor plan. They knew every single type. They knew by the pictures of the listing, they could tell which apartment type that is, which one of the 20 shoreline buildings it is, which view. So like madness. And that's something, I don't think you have to know all of it, but it goes a lot deeper than, it is a lot more complicated than you actually think. Because you think you just call the owner, you get it listed, then you get inquiries, and they're happy and they want it. Yeah.
I think they did you a disservice to put you in the Palm, but I think this is something that some companies do as a mistake, which is basically, I have a team, for example, for Palm XYZ, and I need people versus which one is best for you. And I think it's better to ask the new agent is like, how fast do you really need to make cash? Because that really determines a lot. And how far you want to go with your career. Because you can sacrifice how fast if you want to really be successful in the Palm, for example. And some people would choose it. But if you need quick cash, Palm is not your area. It's not that it's a great area. It's just that the Palm is so competitive that you won't stand out. Like there are some areas where, like the Palm, Marina, downtown, Business Bay, Dubai Hills Estate.
Dubai Hills Estate actually not that much. It's a lot easier already.
It became, you listen, the last couple of years, it was survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Especially because now it's top, it kind of reached a higher price market. Before it was people running to buy even after things were handed over because of the appreciation that it's happened in the market, and it's an EMAR community and it's still affordable. It made so much sense because I remember like 3 years ago, 3 years plus 3 years and a half, let's say, or no, 3 years, a townhouse in the hills was 3+, and now it's reaching 5. You see, like everybody knew that there was potential, so that area was crazy. So I think it was a disservice for you.
Definitely, but the reason I said it is when it comes to apartments, especially because Dubai Hills is still being built, so the owners in Dubai Hills are a lot fresher. And while on the Palm, there's people who literally own their apartments since 2008.
I was mainly talking maybe villas and townhouses.
That's probably different. But when it comes to the apartments, there's owners who own these apartments for 10, 15 years. And as I said, they get so many calls every day. So the standard and the skill you need to have is a lot higher. And I've seen people who had 0 skills closing in Dubai Hills within a couple weeks. While, that's why I said for some it's also meant to be, for some it's not. But because I've called also for example, I remember I've called for a week. I've called Creek Harbor, and the amount of landlords and good conversations I had in Creek compared to the Palm was day and night.
I know. I think because the Creek back then still didn't announce that mall, and
I think I could have gotten like 10 listings there a week. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but I'm telling I had 10 good conversations with owners. I didn't even try to get listings, but I had 10 really good conversations, sometimes 10, 15 minutes long, because I'm a good caller. On the Palm, it's never possible. They're just like, yeah, they pick up the phone. When it's available, they're like, yeah, that's the price, and they hang up. Literally, that's the conversation. And in Creek, I had long conversations about, yeah, I'm in the Netherlands right now, and I'm, you know, very
I told you they
different.
did a disservice, because when you have an area such as the Palm that is always scoring amongst the top 3 most researched areas, and you know, and it is famous as an area worldwide. Besides the fact that it's very popular in Dubai to live in, it's also like, it's kind of one of the touristic attractions. They did you a disservice, but it's still a good. Look, I think the
learning.
best thing about joining a big company is they have a lot of tools. So you learn so fast and so much. And you can forgive their mistakes.
Yeah.
Then you move towards what you want to do.
And I remember when I got my first listing up. It was not even a listing, it was a pocket listing. The guy had a mental idea of what he wants, what price he wants for his apartment. Actually, he wanted to sell it. It wasn't even rental, but he wanted to sell it. And I remember I had him on the phone. That was the first ever good conversation I had on cold calling from a landlord. And I already did hundreds. And this guy, he wanted 12 million for an apartment. While the highest price to a comparable apartment in that area, in the same building, was 8 million. And he wanted 12.
That's why he was willing
to talk to you. But I
to
had no idea. So I was like, yeah, I'll come around, I'll view it. Acting professional. I came there and I viewed it. I had no idea about nothing. But I was so happy. I thought, I'm going to make a 12 million deal now. Obviously, but he didn't want me to list it. So I was, you know. But I had so much hope. I was like, yeah, damn, I have a 12 million apartment now. Nice.
Let's say, just to explain to everybody that you start with rental, and rental is basically you call clients' data, get a listing. A listing, it means that they allow you to market it and put it on portals, because they need to actually give you the permission. And then you just, you know, it's posted, the company posted on the portals, enter your name, and then you get calls. And then you go and do a bunch of viewings, and it would be, that's why people have to specialize in one area, because you can go within your area and do all your viewings and work from there as well. Then you close deals. Of course, you get a 5% commission of the value of the rental. Okay. And that's how people start, because it's quicker cash, as Carl said. You get to have a faster way of closing if you want to, but also it's something you need to know, because later on you will understand that investors become landlords, and you need to understand what happens in the rental market to later on know how to advise people. And then you move up, you get promoted. Once you do a good couple of deals, but I think you should spend, if you have the time, honestly, and you spend like a good couple of months in rental, or even 6 months, it's good. Then you move to resale, then I think they go hand in hand with rental. It's just that you need a little bit of the first couple of months. I think the first 6 months to 1 year to do resale, starting 3 months rental would be perfect. And then you go to resale, which is basically the same thing. It's just that people want to sell it. They don't want to buy, they don't want to rent it. And you go do your views. But of course, you get a much higher percentage, because it's a sale price. And you get to now work with people who want to buy it either as an end user to buy a home, or as a second-hand investor wants to buy a ready property and rent it. I think also you will learn the trick of mortgage, that people are coming to buy with mortgage, and the other person owns the property, or who had it on mortgage, and mortgage is very complicated. Then mortgage, cash to mortgage, quite easier. The best thing is cash to cash, like somebody who bought it and done, it's under their name, there's no mortgage, and somebody comes and gives cash. That's your
dream client, yeah.
Dream come true, but it gets a little bit tricky. You have to understand how mortgages work. You have to have your own people here and there. And then you move to...
Well, you can. Some people, I think, there's a lot of people who always stay in secondary. Because at the end, especially when you're on an area like the Palm, and you're doing it for 4 or 5 years, you're going to be in that game of where you sell apartments in Atlantis the Royal for 80 to 100 million. The villas, of course, were prices up to 150 million, 200 million. This is where you literally can earn yourself an average 5-year salary, which in one deal basically. And depending on how you negotiate the deal, if you get a better price for the landlord, you can get some extra commission there also. And once you have a name, it's also quite easy to get listings because you have a track record where you can show, okay, I already sold Villa font D43, and now I can, which is a huge villa, so you have the capability to gain clients for it, maybe over your network. Those are also often deals which more come over network, because it's not really, I don't know, what's your experience with that? I don't think the people with the highest budget, those are often people who buy over people they know, right? Those are not the ones who inquire over a listing.
Yes and no. It depends. It depends on the person, but mostly it's through referrals. But the thing is that you can meet these people anywhere. Like, look, I come from like a humble like background, so I know nobody who has like that much money to really like to be referred to me. Although I got referral from network, but later on. Anyway, but I think if you start working with clients and you have a good company that have good marketing team, you end up really stumbling on these people. Because I remember I stumbled on, I don't know if I should, it was like the franchisor of Kia in India. Now, I didn't end up selling him anything because it was a very complicated thing, but they were like kind of like a millionaire, a high-end millionaire. I don't know. No, they count as billionaires for sure. Anyway, but you get to meet these clients, and it was a lead from the company. Okay, a lead from the company. When you call him, he's very angry because I think they call him too much. And you just try different times, and then suddenly you catch him in a good mood. That's how it happened with me. And it was decent gentleman, which I actually respected a lot, because I was trying to offer him something, but the developer delayed it, etc., etc., etc. And then he was like, oh, but I prefer this area. And then, okay, do you want me to help you there as well? He's like, oh, I'm already talking to somebody, and I committed with them. And I was like, I respected that, because he was very transparent and, very, very decent man. It's like, oh, I already am working with somebody, so thank you so much. If I have a need, I'll come back to you, which I liked it. So you can meet these people, but mostly networking. I think that would work for you, because you're good with,
definitely.
He's good with just attracting people. Mainly because he's a human giant. But yeah, and he stands out in crowds. But yeah.
There's a difference also, now that you mentioned it. Now there's people who always stay in secondary. I think you get really successful, but I feel like at a certain level you have that many contacts and that much clients already from the past who come back to you, for example, from rental. Now they want to invest, that you more or less are gonna get into off plan at least a little bit as well, if you not completely switch. Now the difference here obviously is that in secondary works different in a way that you get the inquiry, for example, and then you do the live viewing. You're going to show them the apartment, you see exactly what's there, then you are going to meet the landlord, you're going to do a lot of negotiating between them. Now in off plan is very different, because we're talking a lot hypothetical. Exactly.
Yeah.
Same word on my mind. Hypothetical. We're talking hypothetical about, when it comes to numbers, there's no track records for rental contracts, for example. There's no track record for resale
hypothetical
prices.
For the building, but you have track record for areas, for developers. So
yeah, but not for that specific project.
That specific project, nothing, because it's does not exist.
Exactly. And the client is, obviously in second, well, no, that's not true.
Look, I'll tell you the difference. In resale, you managed to build a very good network because you were going to talk to those people because they own the property. And if you manage to impress them, to gain their trust, that's great. Then you can convert them. However, if you're so focused on secondary, it is kind of impossible to really understand off plan. And this is where I think if you're working with a team that it doesn't happen, and this is the perfect case scenario, but like you go to your off-plan team for advice, or the off-plan manager, and you have your own database, and you work together, and then you make a good agreement that everybody wins out of. The problem is, agents are greedy and they don't want to really share. If they manage to convince themselves to share amongst each other, they will reach like great heights. So one has the network. Off-plan is an expert in investment. That's all what they do, and that's what we do. Like, you manage a person's investment portfolio. Now, eventually your investor is going to have ready properties. Then you go collaborate with the resale team, or wants to rent something. You collaborate with the rental. But this is where you need a good infrastructure around you to support that. But from off-plan, you build it from scratch, which is basically the person hasn't had a property before, mostly, and then you start in the first, the second, and build the journey. From resale is somebody who invested before, and you help them sell it, or you help them rent it, and now you're going to a new endeavor if you can manage to convert them.
And if you're in resale or rental, most of the time the agent is also focused heavily on just one area, while in off-plan we're basically dealing with the whole of Dubai, even UAE, exactly.
UAE.
Other countries also. So that's also very different.
Yeah, because you work as an investment consultant, basically, because it's different.
Because you need to know, you want to advise on the entire availability, right? You want because we talked about it, that there's investments would make sense for one person but not for the other. Now when you're in secondary and the person inquires specifically on the Palm Jumeirah, and you can show them a little bit of your availability, it's quite obvious that they want that, especially if they're end use.
I think if you're in off-plan, you kind of have to understand how money works, not much in resale, because suddenly you have to understand how crypto is doing, how bank rates are doing, what is the tax code of X country, because we deal with international investors as well. So if somebody's talking to you, you want to understand not really their tax code, but at least like a little bit of like situation, at least a bit of understanding of their situation.
Yeah.
You have to understand money transfer. So it's more of like, you really have to understand money. If you understand money, you'll be a great off-plan, let's say, investment advisor.
Yeah.
Because, like, let's say I've met a couple of, they're successful, but I met a couple of agents that they really are selling the property. Okay, it's just like good walls, good whatever, which is true and good and whatever. But I think if you ever want to become an A-League off-plan property advisor, you have to really move from the property itself and go to understanding money, because the most crucial point is understanding money, understanding how to advise the person where they want to reach with their goal and strategy, and then figure out a way to support that. And then the last part is the property, which is not really complicated because you already have your experience. But if you only know the property, it's not going to work out. Although they succeed, funny enough, but I think you need that jump in your career where you really are looking at it as a business endeavor with a partner, and then you go for it like from a macro to a micro. And the last part is okay, so we're going to this project because we know how it works, you know? So yeah, what do you think?
I think you nailed it.
Understand money.
I think, understand money. We have really interesting conversations from time to time with people, for example, from the investment banking space. We're also giving you a little bit of a brief, how's the stock market doing? When is the right time to put money into assets? And now this knowledge we can transfer onto our clients and have the conversation. Yeah, those are the most interesting ones, because you learn a lot and you gain also, it's a form of networking also, to, get in touch with people from other spaces.
You remember
which
that
I
meeting?
Personally like a lot.
You remember that meeting with a lady that we were talking about, like nothing makes sense. Everything is not happening according to what people expect it to be, let's say in the markets. Yeah. I love that conversation.
We had like a 2-hour meeting.
Yeah, that's my catnip. Oof.
Keep it was super, super in depth. Really interesting.
Something that I really appreciate about how we work is that Carl manages to explain to potential clients how we want to do things. He kind of knows how to genuinely explain to them, this is what we're looking for in our partnership with a client. And now it doesn't succeed all the time, but you really sometimes convey it in a very, very good way. Then we get a great meeting. I don't care if we're actually going to transact. I just loved the meeting, because after the meeting, I'm like, Carl, I loved it. So yeah, I hope we get more of those meetings. And also, like, you know, when you get somebody who really also like is curious and want to engage in that conversation, usually they look to us for advisory, right? They want us to help them. But I actually like to turn it around and ask them, so what do you think? And then they give you their opinion. And then, you know, we have 10, 20, 30 clients' opinion. And that's excellent. Because they're also doing business, or they're actually in touch with the other aspects of the financial world. We're just here with the real estate part, right? So they get to tell you.
So to wrap it up, let's speak very, very fast about also the ethical code that we apply to our clients.
You mean the non-negotiables?
The non-negotiables, exactly.
I remember when we were saying about find your match, we kind of like, I think we spoke about it, is I think right now we're disqualifying clients because we want to work with the right clients for us, because there's a long-term vision here. For me, I don't want to work with greedy clients. And I think me and Carl were like on the same page when it comes to this, right? I don't want to work with greedy clients. I understand a bit of skepticism of a client, but a non-transparent, deceiving client is a different thing, okay? We can give them the grace of like, you don't know us, you still need time to trust us, etc., etc. But once like we've been working for a couple of months and we discover they're deceptive and non-transparent client, then of course it's a no-go zone. For us, remember last time when I said this is how I lose clients, which is my pessimism, because I really like to give low expectations and just be happy once we exceed them, then actually like overpromise and underdeliver, which is a little bit of a burden if you're working in the domain of sales, because you're supposed to sell potential and that's how you actually get people hooked. But I have a hard time doing that. And even when clients come from my network, I'm like, listen, don't tell me that I trust you. The more you tell me that, the more I don't want to sell you, because I cannot control market patterns. It's not in my hands. If it was, I would do it. To be transparent with the clients and be, for us at least, there is non-negotiable of the clients that we want to work with. And I think when it comes to me, for us, I think is like to be transparent, but firm, not waste the client's time, not even waste ours.
To also, if they want to invest into something specific, but we don't think it's a good investment, could be quick and easy money, but to also tell them, look, we don't believe that's a good.
Yeah, that's how Carl is losing prospects.
Yeah, that's how we're losing prospects. But at the end of the day, like there's things you should not invest in.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm not gonna sell it to you then, unless you tell me I don't care, I want this. And I'm like, okay, at least I told you.
Yeah. And what else do you think we have in non-negotiable?
I think those are the most important ones. Transparent, truth only.
Hopefully. I try not to lie. Like it's a skill to really not lie.
Yeah.
It's like an exercise. What else?
I think that's it. That's the most important thing. And have fun, of course.
We're trying to have fun with this podcast.
Have lots of fun all the time. I hope you guys had fun as well with this episode.
Yeah.
Next episode is going to be a really interesting one, so stay tuned for that.
We've been teasing this for the past 3 episodes.
It was supposed to be this one, but we had to record an extra one. So the next episode will be the one. Stay tuned for that. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and check out the Instagram channels below for more extra content of her and me, real estate related and anything else. Thank you guys for tuning in, and that's it from
You're getting very good at this.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.